guess this'll do. But I don't even know what it is. I think I'll settle for the chestnut oak instead. Chestnut oak acorn. It is simple enough. And for my first exam, I'd rather have a simpler task rather than a complicated one with a lot of details. Sure, it wouldn't give me that much experience when it comes to the botanical illustrating, of course, but it'll do. It'll do. There we go. So, to set up my work area. So, to begin sketching you do have a smooth brown surface. That's not too bad, but the reflection from the light is giving you a bit of highlight. However, she did say that a good artist doesn't require white paint in order to detail in the highlights rather. She said that you would only really require if you're an experienced good painter, you would only need the white of the paper to let the paper kind of come out on its own. So you have the color around the paper basically, or the color already provided, but the problem is that I'm not an experienced painter. I'm just beginning. So I think I might cheat and just use white paint instead of practicing, which would obviously inevitably lead to my not being all that experienced. But this is for an exam, and I'd rather do well in the exam than practice on it and then practice later where I'm not being judged, basically. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. But you have a smooth brown surface and a rough, coarse, rounded top. Okay, so let me just hang my sketch pad up there and collect my colors. She said to make a swatch, so that way when the acorn starts losing its color, at least you know which colors to use. So brown should do, and I'm assuming that a little red and black would also be quite suitable for your texture. But should I use watercolors or paints? She said not to use paints because she wanted the transparency of watercolors, but I'm not all that apt when it comes to watercolors either, so but watercolors can prove to be such beautiful tools when it comes to making botanical illustrations. I think I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm probably just gonna rely on the paints instead. Yeah, I'll just rely on the paints instead. Actually, no. But I want to use the watercolors because the watercolors can prove to be so beautiful. But the paints would make the job easier, so I think I'm just going to settle with the paints and just pop them open. There we go. Okay, now let me close them. First we need to make the rough sketch, the composition. So let me just choose from my tools, bring them a bit closer. Otherwise, how am I supposed to aptly choose, select, pick? Okay. There we go. Now to begin sketching, so composition should be set. Now just to start adding in the swatches and the brushes and to paint it in a bit. But at the same time I have such trepidation when it comes to painting it in because the fact that it is so, I mean it's not like I can erase a watercolor, so nonetheless I'll get it done. So I'll just use this, but watercolors or paints? Watercolors or paints? Watercolors or paints? I'm gonna use paints. I'm gonna use paints because I need to use the paints, so just to pop it open, I'm just gonna pop this open, and I'll use the thinnest, no, I'll use the medium, no, I'll use the thickest brush first. I think she warned us against that, but nonetheless, it'll get the project done sooner, so I'm such an excellent student. Okay, so there we go. I do believe it matches the same color. Here, let me see. No, there's no need to match it up, but yes, it should be fine. 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 So there we go. There we go, 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 okay. Okay. think I'm gonna be choosing this red to go into. Or should I use the orange for the details? I'll use the red. I think they match up quite well. Yeah, because I think, I see certain small details in there that would lead me to believe that red would be the best choice, but at the same time, I don't know whether it's because I'm deluding myself into believing it's the best choice because it's the most convenient choice, or if it's actually the best choice, but nonetheless, it's still the best choice to me, personally, individually, so whatever. I'm gonna be popping this tab open then. Cap. Oh, it's almost broken. Shame. And then I'm going to be going in, so I'm just gonna lightly tap a little bit, and then I'm just going to be going in just a little bit as well. Just adding in those little details here and there. This painting is not coming out the way I thought it would. This is such a shame. The teacher will notice, and she will flunk me, but I'm at a point where I just don't care. And it's an excellent place to be. Antipathy. Indifference. Trademarks of my generation, and lovely ones considering how terrible and corrupt the structure of the world is, or society rather. The world is terrible, of course. It's always been filled with chaos and disillusionment and cruelty and violence and horror, but the society that we live in is structured so terribly by our past generations before us that it's just impossible for us to thrive or even survive within it at times without having to remake it, just to allow for a more progressive world where things like basic necessities aren't so stressful to get. I mean, just getting food is difficult enough. And I mean, there's food outside, but we've polluted that food so we can't eat it. Our only source is the one that you have to purchase, and getting money is a headache, and keeping money is a headache, and using money in different ways is a headache. That's all just to be indifferent and paint plants, the ones that just live and then die in peace. That's all we need, is just peace. John Lennon's Acorn Movement. Bed-in for peace. Exactly. I added way too many details, so I got distracted. Let me just cap this. There's no way I'm making this up. What a shame. What a shame. Now for the thinnest brush. I think the orange would go lovely with your complexion. I think the orange would go lovely with your complexion very, very well. Very, very well. There are some light details that I could use the orange as highlights for, and that would be marvelous. A marvelous decision, to say the least. So I think that's what I'm going to be using. Yes, that's what I'm going to be using. Should I be using that? I am going to be using that. That's what I'm going to be using. Open the cap. Oh, no wonder my thumb was pressing down on it as I was pressing up. Dab it in a little bit. And then go in with a slight little detail. So just a slight little details. Light little details. Yeah, but it's going to be my first exam anyways, and it's not like it's my first exam in my first botanical artistry class, so botanical art class. Even though I already took painting, drawing, and all that jazz, but nonetheless, it's different because botanical illustrations are more detailed and precise, so it's different than painting, say, a face or a portrait, rather, or a landscape. This has little intricate details that you have to focus on, the little pores on the plants, the little ways that they flick and whatnot, the little hairs that they have. It's something that's much more precise, to be honest. Why am I talking to a chestnut oak acorn? I'm going mad. Queen. I'm going slightly mad. I'm going slightly mad. Just a little tap, 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 think that should really resolve it for the matter. But I don't know though. I think it should. Okay. And then I'm just gonna line it over again with the pencil. Just to make sure that everything is settled and lined correctly. I think this is a finished product. I made an entire illustration in what? 14 minutes? It's gonna be quite a masterpiece, to be honest. The teacher will have a difficult time grading it harshly. I'm sure I'll get the A. There we go. Just the little details here and there, and you should be settled. Little chestnut. Okay, Gwen. Just little details here and there, 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 here and there. Now let me just measure you because I forgot to measure you. Okay. Yeah, I should have measured you at the beginning. Oh. In fact, I forgot my ruler at the class. Okay, the proportions are all off. Let me just lightly touch your texture just to see. Yep, there's more pores than I included. That's too flat, and there's pores. Your surface is porous on the smooth end, and obviously it's far more grainier when it comes to the rough end. It's far more grainier, and there's no grains on that side. It's also quite flat and smooth. So, okay, and then so this painting is marvelous, and I'm gonna turn it in anyways because whatever. I've already wasted 16 minutes, I think, of my life painting a chestnut acorn. I honestly, botanical artistry is so beautiful, and the process is so relaxing and beautiful as well, but the actual application of it is just time consuming and exhausting. You have to be a certain type of person in order to be a botanical illustrator. Honestly, you have to have a special sort of temperament that I just don't have. So, wrapping that up, gonna fill that class, gonna put these away. Put my little drawing. Take down my little drawing pad. I'll turn that in later. And by later, I mean much later. Okay, I put my utensils back over there by the other specimens that I was